Dreams shattered. The CEO faints when he sees his long-lost wife as a beggar. Nathan Carter strode through the bustling streets of New York City, his sharp, tailored suit glowing under the skyscraper's shadows. His life was a series of high-stakes deals and luxurious evenings. Yet today felt different. The air crackled, thick with expectation. People pushed past him, oblivious to their millionaire neighbor, while street vendors shouted their sales pitches into the roaring city. But then, among the chaos, he stumbled. There, huddled against a soggy concrete wall, was a woman wrapped in tattered layers. A cardboard sign rested on her lap. "Help, please." But it was her face that rooted Nathan in place, stealing the breath from his lungs. The resemblance to his long-lost wife, Sarah, was uncanny. He could almost hear the echoes of her laughter ringing through his mind, dulled by years of silence. His heart raced. Memories flooded back. Sunlit parks, warm embraces, shattered dreams. 15 years had passed since she vanished without a trace. He sought closure, but never found it. Nathan's hands trembled as he approached the woman, the sounds of the city blurring into a distant rumble. "Excuse me," he started, his voice barely above a whisper. The woman lifted her gaze, a piercing look filled with pain and resilience. It was as though the entire world had collapsed, leaving only them in that moment. Her eyes, faded but familiar, sent a bolt of shock through him. "Are you?" He couldn't finish the question. It seemed absurd. "Please," she whispered, voice hoarse, but the urgency grabbed at his heart. "Just leave me be." The words trailed off, leaving behind a trail of confusion and hurt. And suddenly, Nathan couldn't bear it anymore. He had lived the life of affluence, yet here he was, connected to a woman whose existence was shattered, stripped of all that defined her. The lump in his throat swelled. "What happened to you?" Her eyes darted away, avoiding his gaze like a stray cat cornered by a storm. The city around them continued its relentless rhythm. But as he reached out, wanting to comfort her, a cold voice interrupted. "What do you want with her?" Nathan turned, the hairs on the back of his neck rising. A man loomed behind them, his presence a dark shadow against the bright chaos of the street. He wore an intimidating smirk, his leather jacket unzipped to reveal tattoos that told stories of violence and despair. The woman shrank back in fear. Nathan's pulse quickened. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice stronger than he felt. "Just a friend," the man replied, eyes narrowing. "And she's got enough trouble without you sticking your nose in." Panic twisted Nathan's gut. Who were they? What secrets were bound in the invisible threads of Sarah's past? And how was she linked to this unsettling figure? As the man loomed closer, Nathan stood frozen, torn between the shimmering life he had built and the chaos of what had been lost. That haunting face? Was it really Sarah? The question echoed within him, demanding answers. "Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact." Nathan stood frozen, heart pounding. The man's smirk was a jagged mask, full of menace and unspoken threats. Sarah flinched, eyes wide with fear as she shrank back against the wall. And at that moment, everything felt fragile, like glass ready to shatter. "Get away from her," Nathan said, stepping forward, fists clenched at his sides. The man chuckled darkly, the sound a poison in the air. "It's cute that you folk you can protect her," he sneered, but something shifted in the air. Behind him there was a rustle, a sudden movement that broke Nathan's focus. A police siren wailed in the distance, growing closer, but the man's attention remained fixed on him. Then, out of nowhere, a loud crash echoed through the street. A nearby storefront window exploded, shards of glass flying everywhere, rattling Nathan's bones. Chaos erupted. People shrieked, some diving for cover. "Run!" the man barked, his eyes darting toward the chaos and panic around them. He grabbed Sarah's wrist, yanking her up. Nathan instinctively lunged, but the man twisted, dragging her away. "No!" Nathan shouted, adrenaline fueling his desperation. He pushed through the crowd, weaving past startled faces. Just as he reached her, the man turned and drew something from his jacket, a knife glinting ominously under the harsh city lights. Blood rushed to Nathan's ears, drowning out the noise around him. "Let her go!" In that instant, Sarah met his eyes, an urgency sparking in her gaze. "Nathan, wait," she cried, but her voice was drowned out by another blast. This one, closer, an explosion of confusion and noise that threw Nathan to his knees. Fingers trembling, he collapsed to the ground. He looked up, and suddenly, the scene shifted. Sarah was stumbling away from the man who had just turned to face the new threat. White smoke billowed, a cafe down the block engulfed in flames. The chaos swirled, but Nathan's focus narrowed onto Sarah. As she ran, he caught a glimpse of something in her hand, an ornate pendant hanging from her neck, shimmering in the reflected light like a beacon. It made his heart skip. Nathan surged up. "Sarah!" he yelled, breaking through the tumult, shaking off the weight of panic. But as he approached, something sharp entered his chest, a bitter pang of realization. No. He could feel his world collapsing around him as she turned, momentarily still. In that fleeting reflection, a truth unspooled in Nathan's mind. The pendant wasn't just a piece of jewelry. He recognized it. "Where did you get that?" His voice cracked. A storm of emotions flashed across her face. But before she could speak, the man was back, closing in with a menacing snarl while holding the knife slightly aloft. "You shouldn't have come here, rich boy," he growled. But his voice faded into a ghost beneath the sirens and screams. Nathan's heart raced, and the shadows of the past loomed large. Because in that pendant lay a secret too heavy for any of them. Secrets that tangled them all like barbed wire, binding them. In a web where loyalty and betrayal weren't easily defined. "Run, Nathan!" Sarah screamed, and those words shattered any safety. But he couldn't leave her. Not now. Not when everything hung in the balance. A flash interrupted the chaos. Another explosion, bright and blaring, sending a wave of heat toward Nathan. Bodies surged around him, crowding, swarming, pushing him backward. Just as his world spun into confusion, he caught a glimpse of Sarah being dragged away. "Sarah!" He yelled into the rising inferno, voice chasing after her into the unknown, desperate for answers, desperate for her. What had she been hiding? Who was that man? And more importantly, what connection did the pendant reveal? The questions burned even brighter than the flames. Nathan's desperate call for Sarah echoed into the chaos, a cry swallowed by the flames in panic. The world felt fragmented. Sizzling heat combined with sharp sounds. People's screams mixing with the blaring sirens. He pushed forward, willing his legs to move faster, to reach her, somehow believing that if he just ran hard enough, he would tear through the veil of confusion that separated them. But chaos turned into a whirlwind. Crouching down to dodge the flying debris, he sprinted towards where the last glimpse of her had vanished, his heart racing. Was she safe? Where had that man taken her? Then everything shifted. A loud crash came from behind him, and he turned just as a nearby lamppost came crashing down, shattering glass and metal. The crowd screamed, scattering, like startled birds, and in that moment of distraction, something caught his eye. A small flash of light, a silver glint from the corner of his vision, moving too fast. He squinted, heart hammering. Could it be? No way. It couldn't be. A black SUV screeched to a halt right by him, the engine roaring. The door swung open, and as he blinked in disbelief, out stepped a familiar figure. He remained frozen, the air thick around him as recognition struck like lightning. It was Sam, his former business partner. The one person he'd thought was long gone from his life after their bitter fallout. "What the hell, Sam?" Nathan gasped, confusion battling with elation. "Get in," Sam shouted over the chaos, urgency in his eyes. "I can help you find her." Nathan's instincts kicked in. He didn't have time to question it. Without a second thought, he leaped into the passenger seat, the slamming door rattling him. "Where's Sarah?" Nathan demanded, eyes wild. "She's in danger," Sam replied, speeding away from the chaos, weaving through the panicked crowd. "But we need to get out of here first. It's not safe." "Not safe?" Nathan felt his heart drop. "What do you mean?" Before Sam could answer, Nathan saw it, a flicker in the rearview mirror that sent chills down his spine. The man with the knife was in pursuit, sprinting towards them, his face a mask of rage. The driver's side door swung open, and the man lunged, arms outstretched. Instinctively, Nathan reached for the door, trying to slam it shut as the man barreled towards them. Just then a loud crack of sound broke through the air. Gunfire? Nathan's heart stopped, reverberating in his chest. He felt a sudden jolt, and in that second his mind raced with questions. Who was shooting? Who was pointing a gun? But before he could grasp what was happening, Sam crumpled, a pained expression crossing his face. Blood blossomed on his shirt, spreading like a dark flower. "Sam!" Nathan screamed, shock paralyzing him. The world spun in sickening circles. From the driver's side the man grinned, his eyes triumphant. "You should have stayed out of this, Carter. She never wanted you to find her." What did that mean? From the back seat, a familiar voice called out, "Nathan!" It was Sarah, but she didn't sound like the frightened woman he had just seen. The urgency in her voice was layered with something darker. "You need to trust me. Get out." Trust? With everything collapsing, confusion almost took him down. He turned to Sam, who was struggling to breathe, the life fading from his eyes. "Sam, what's going on?" But the words were catching in Nathan's throat. "She's not who you think she is," Sam wheezed, face pale. "The pendant. It connects you both in ways you can't understand. The urgency, the chaos. The truth was looming, swimming just under the surface, but Nathan couldn't grasp it. The world outside was drowning in noise, and inside the SUV, silence hung, thick as smoke. Sarah's voice cut through. "Nathan, please, just get out now." But something heavy clung to him. The questions multiplying. Who was Sarah? What did Sam mean? And the realization struck him hard. Was he truly about to leave the woman he loved behind? The man grinned cruelly, inching closer, with the knife raised. In that moment, Nathan's heart raced faster than ever. He had to decide. Fight or flight. "Sam," he shouted, voice thick with emotion, "tell me the truth!" But the urgency spiraled, leaving Nathan locked in a whirlwind of choices, teetering on the edge of a truth that might obliterate everything he had known. Would he trust Sarah, or run and leave it all behind? He had to. No. Nathan's heart thundered in his chest as the chaos surged around him. The man's menacing presence loomed closer, the knife reflecting the harsh streetlights, like a shark's tooth. Sam's ragged breath filled the silence as he fought to speak. "Listen to me, Nathan. You have to get out, now." But Nathan's gaze was glued to Sarah, her eyes wild but fierce, caught between defiance and desperation. "I'm not leaving you," he shouted back, but the man sneered, his grip tightening around the knife, drawing more of Nathan's attention, pulling him into a vortex of fear and confusion. Sarah kept shouting, "You need to trust me, Nathan. You need to." But before she could finish, a deafening crack sliced through the air. Another shot fired. Somewhere in the chaos, panic erupted again. It was as if the ground beneath them was shaking. Nathan's instincts screamed at him to act, to save her, but something twisted tighter in his chest, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling. Then, out of nowhere, bright flashes erupted across the street, creating a surreal scene bathed in flickering light. And as he turned back to Sarah, he saw the unbearable shock on her face. The color drained. Her shock mingled with betrayal. Nathan's heart stilled when she hissed, "Run!" In that instant, everything exploded in a whirlwind of sound and color. The fires danced and screams echoed, As he moved instinctively toward her, something caught his eye. The pendant that hung around her neck had trembled violently, shifting to the side, and then, out of nowhere, a mask slipped from her face. A wicked smile replaced her panic. "I can't believe you're this gullible, Nathan." It's like a punch to the gut. The breath left his body, and the world narrowed down to her. Suddenly not his Sarah, but someone entirely different. There was a coldness in her eyes he had never seen before. "Sarah," he stuttered, disbelief paralyzing him. The desperation was now laced with something darker, something that felt like deceit. But before he could process her transformation, the culminating chaos erupted again. The knife-wielding man grinned wider, as if sharing a sick joke. "See, kid, she's never been what you thought." Nathan stepped back, everything around him blurred. "What do you mean?" His words barely a whisper. She laughed softly, the sound like ice scraping against metal. "Oh, Nathan, you really have no idea who I am." The thrashing crowd fell away, and he felt completely alone. What had she meant? Before he could grasp it, Sarah, or whoever she was, seized his arm, her grip like iron. "It's too late, Nathan. You're in this now." Suddenly, gunshots reverberated again, sending panic through the crowd. Nathan looked back, his heart racing, torn between the woman he thought he knew and the chaos around him. Sam was slumped in the driver's seat, his eyes fading. "Trust her, Nathan." His voice was a mere whisper, fading fast. "No, Sam," Nathan shouted, feeling time slow. "What's happening?" But the man with the knife was moving. Suddenly Sarah released him and darted past Nathan, her movements fluid and practiced. "Come on, we have to go." Before his mind could catch up, she was running, dragging Nathan along as he fought to comprehend it all. It felt unreal, like a nightmare he couldn't wake from. Then, another flash, a white-hot bolt of light erupted between them, and the air exploded with sound, throwing both Nathan and Sarah down. The world spun as everything erupted in confusion. He hit the ground hard, breathless. But as he desperately searched for her, he caught a glimpse of Sam's last moments reflected in the metal glint, the life ebbing from his former friend. "No!" Nathan cried out, his voice raw with emotion. The line connecting him to reality frayed, unraveling into shadows. He sensed the depth of betrayal, dread pooling within him like black ink. Struggling to his feet, Nathan looked through the haze. But Sarah was gone. His world narrowed to confusion. A reality he thought he knew had completely disintegrated into fragments of chaos. What did she mean? Who was she? And why did it feel like a dark truth had just crushed his entire world? Confusion clawed at him, and with horror he realized he was all alone, lost in a city that seemed to change every second. Was anyone truly who they seemed? Nathan stood there, heart racing, the chaos swirling around him. He felt hollow, his thoughts reeling from the revelation that just shattered his world. Sarah. Whoever she was, that wasn't the woman he thought he knew. He scanned the street, people stumbling and shouting, collapsing in panic. But all he could hear was his own racing heartbeat. He pushed through the crowd, desperation driving him. Where had she gone? Just seconds ago they were together, sharing a moment amidst the horror. Now she had vanished, like smoke in the wind. The ground was shaking underfoot as flames roared from nearby buildings. The sirens wailed, piercing through the din. Gritting his teeth, Nathan dug deep, fighting against the retreating tide of chaos. He had to find her, had to grasp some thread of the truth. Then, a flash of movement caught his eye. To his left, clustered behind some debris, he spotted a figure, dark, hooded, the man with the knife. Nathan's blood froze in his veins. Was he here for Sarah? Did he know what she was hiding? Just as Nathan turned to run, a loud crash interrupted. A heavy concrete block tumbled from a building above, barely missing him. He stumbled backward, heart in his throat, fear tightening his chest. His instincts screamed to escape, to push through the fear, yet everything felt surreal. Let go of him," a voice boomed. Cutting through the chaos, Nathan looked up to see a uniformed officer charging through the smoke, pushing people aside as if they were nothing. For a fleeting heartbeat, hope flickered. He waved his arms, but his voice was lost in the noise. Then, without warning, a deafening explosion rocked the street, a blinding light illuminating everything. A nearby shop erupted in flames. The ground shook violently beneath him, and Nathan fell, crashing hard. He scrambled to his feet, dazed, but then gasped. Directly in front of him, emerging from the smoke, was Sarah. But she wasn't alone. There was a tall figure beside her, a woman, dressed in dark clothing, hair pulled back tightly, as if ready for war. "Sarah," Nathan shouted. Disoriented, but she didn't respond. Instead, her expression was fierce, as if she were preparing for battle. "Move," the woman yelled. "We have to go now." Before Nathan could process it, Sarah turned her back on him. "Follow me," she ordered, and the intensity in her voice sent chills down his spine. "Wait, what are you doing?" he yelled. Confused, but they didn't stop. They dashed away, weaving through panicked crowds. His feet followed instinctively, chasing after them. But the sight of them together sent a jolt of betrayal through him. Why weren't they together for him? Everything inside Nathan screamed to stop them, to shout the truth from the rooftops. Yet both women melted into the shadowy alleyways, disappearing from sight. Suddenly, a sharp shout erupted behind him. "Nathan!" It was Sam, stumbling out of the wreckage, bleeding heavily. "Get out! They want the pendant!" "Sam!" Nathan rushed back, his heart pounding. Sam's face was ghostly pale, struggling to stand. "What are you talking about?" But as Sam opened his mouth to answer, Nathan's blood ran cold. From the flames emerged figures, men, hooded and armed, surrounding them, eyes glinting with something menacing. The realization hit him like a freight train. This wasn't just chaos anymore. It was a trap, and they were the prey. "Run!" Nathan shouted to Sam. But the hooded figures moved fast, advancing on them like wolves. "We have to." Then, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife deeper, the woman he thought was Sarah turned and lifted her face, the shadows revealing her features. It wasn't Sarah. It was her twin. "Did you really think you could save her?" The twin sneered, her gaze flickering to Sam, anger boiling between them. Nathan's world spun, disbelief crowding his thoughts. "How? Who? Are you? Come on, Nathan. Didn't you ever wonder why she disappeared?" the twin taunted. As the men closed in around him, trapping him in a nightmare, the truth crashed around him like a tidal wave. Everything he believed, shattered. "You're both after the pendant," he realized, shock etching lines across his face. "Yes," she hissed, "and you'll find out just how deep this goes, if you survive." Chaos erupted as the men lunged forward. Nathan's heart raced faster than ever, but as he fought against the tide closing in, one thought consumed him. What was this truth that could tear apart everything he knew? A single question loomed, echoing in his mind. Could he ever trust anyone again? The moment froze. Nathan's heart pounded as a man and Sarah's twin advanced, shadows closing in. The figures moved like predators, hungry for prey, bearing the cold truth that wrapped Nathan's chest in ice. He was in danger, and so was she. "Get away from me," Nathan shouted, fists clenched, but his defiance felt small against the encroaching threat. Sam slumped beside him, blood seeping into his shirt, a stark contrast against the chaos roaring all around. "Move," the woman echoed, her voice sharp, slicing through the air. In that second, Nathan glanced at Sam. "What are they after?" he asked, confusion mixing with the rising panic. He needed answers, but all he got was Sam's strained look. "Get Sarah and run," Sam rasped, struggling to stay cheese. Suddenly the air shifted, heavy with an energy that crackled. From behind the men, another figure emerged, moving through the smoke with purpose. It was a woman, dressed in a sleek black suit, her demeanor powerful. She walked like she owned the night, confidence radiating from her. Everyone turned, tension rising. "Step aside," she commanded, her voice echoing, carrying authority. The men hesitated, their eyes darting between her and Sarah's twin. "Who the hell are you?" The twin spat, her bravado flickering for a moment. The newcomer stepped forward, an unsettling calm surrounding her. "I'm here for the pendant, and you're in my way." The air crackled again. Nathan watched as the men exchanged glances, uncertainty weaved between them. Just then, the woman made a sudden move. She pulled a sleek weapon from her side, smooth and deadly. The light caught it, gleaming dangerously. In that instant, the dynamic shifted. The men recoiled, hesitation flashing on their faces. "You don't want to do this," one of them said, voice wavering. "Oh, but I do," she replied, cold determination etched in her features. Chaos erupted. The moment she fired, everything blurred. The sound of gunfire rang, echoing through the street, drowning out the screams. Nathan ducked, adrenaline coursing, instincts kicking in. As the first man went down, Nathan's gaze darted to Sarah's twin. Her face twisted in shock, and for a second, Nathan saw the woman he thought he knew, unmasked by the sudden chaos. Then, a gasp escaped her lips. "No, get back!" she cried, flinging her arms wide, trying to shield the others from the scene unfolding. In that moment, something shifted explosively. Her eyes narrowed, and a wild glow seemed to ignite behind them. "Sarah!" Nathan shouted, eyes wide, feeling a mixture of fear and confusion. But as if summoned by his call, Sarah appeared from the smoke, moving seamlessly, a graceful yet determined figure. "I'm not who you think!" she shouted at Nathan, voice fierce with an urgency he had never heard. But then came the shock. A blinding flash surged from the pendant around her neck, bright enough to blind. Nathan staggered back, shielding his eyes as the air thickened. Everything quaked with power, and Nathan felt a pull, a force that tugged. At his very core, "Sarah, what is happening?" His voice broke, fear edging into desperation. When the light subsided, the street transformed. The ground beneath him shimmered, an illusion unveiling itself. Everything, the chaos, the panic, was a mirage. And there, standing where Sarah had been, was someone entirely different. A woman, her features a mirror of Sarah's, but her eyes told a different story. In that moment, Nathan realized he didn't just lose Sarah. He felt everything unravel. "You thought you could save her?" the woman said, revealing an unsettling smirk. "But you didn't even know her, or what she truly is." Time stood still as Nathan took a shaky step back. Confusion roared in his mind. "Who are you?" he gasped, feeling hollow. The world around him blurred, stealing his breath, stealing everything he knew. "Welcome to the real story, Nathan," she replied with a chilling laugh echoing into the chaos. "There's so much more to uncover, and it's only just begun." And with that, reality folded in on itself. Everything collapsed into darkness, leaving Nathan gasping, desperately clinging to the fragments of his life. And the haunting question, what had he stumbled into? Nathan gasped, the world around him plunging into chaos. The moment felt surreal like a dream that twisted and turned. The shadowy woman was staring right at him, but her face wasn't Sarah's anymore. It was another woman, one he never expected to see. "Melanie?" he breathed, disbelief crashing over him like a wave. Melanie was Sarah's sister. The one person in the family he barely met. The one nobody talked about. "Surprised to see me?" she asked. Her voice dripped with sarcasm, yet was laced with power. "That's cute." A flicker of recognition crossed Nathan's mind. All those unanswered questions that surrounded Sarah's disappearance suddenly merged into focus. All those years, and here stood Melanie, grinning as if everything was a game. "Where is Sarah?" Nathan demanded, feeling fury and confusion intertwine. "What have you done to her?" Melanie laughed, the sound cold and mocking. "You thought you were saving her? Oh, sweet Nathan, you don't have a clue." She stretched her arms wide, soaking up the power of the moment. Just then, the men with the weapons shifted. Nathan saw their uncertainty. Eyes darting between Melanie and him, fear flickered in the back of their minds. It was like watching the pieces of a dangerous puzzle being assembled. "Let's not pretend," Melanie continued, stepping closer, smirk unwavering, "that you have any idea what she is or what she's capable of." "What are you talking about?" Nathan's chest tightened. "Is she in danger?" "She is danger," Melanie responded, her gaze piercing. "And you can't save her, because she doesn't want to be saved." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. The air thickened, reality twisting into something darker, something he couldn't grasp. "You're lying." "Am I?" she pressed, her eyes narrowing. "You'll see. She's always been one step ahead of you, Nathan." Before he could reply, another shot rang out, louder this time, echoing through the street. Panic resumed its control as people screamed, scattering like startled birds. Nathan turned automatically, his instincts driving him to dodge. In the midst of the chaos, he looked back to Melanie, but the space where she had stood was empty, gone, in a breath. That's when something heavy slammed against his side, a body, hurtling against him with frantic energy. "Get up," Sarah yelled, the urgency in her voice pulling him out of the fog. She grabbed his wrist, eyes wild with determination. "Sarah," he gasped. But there was something different. The warmth of familiarity held an edge now, a flicker of doubt in the back of his mind. "They're coming," she urged, dragging him away from the firestorm that enveloped them. Forget everything, he thought. But the weight of Melanie's words lingered. Sarah had vanished for so long. Had she truly wanted to stay hidden? Who was that? Nathan demanded while struggling to keep up, the terrain uneven beneath them. "What's going on?" Sarah paused, flashing him a strained look. "I can't explain right now. Just trust me." But trust felt like a fragile thing. The question spiraled. Could he trust her? In that instant, the ground shook again, a tremor rattling through the city. Taking a step back, Nathan caught sight of Melanie standing a few feet away, her expression twisted in manic glee. And then the unthinkable happened. She raised her hand, and with it, a burst of light erupted, pure and blinding. Everything, Nathan, Sarah, even the chaos, seemed to collapse into a cascade of color. When the light faded, Nathan blinked away the spots that danced in his vision. He gasped at the sight before him. Sarah wasn't there anymore. Instead stood Melanie, her smirk gone, replaced by a fury he had never seen before. "Welcome to my world, Nathan," she sneered, her tone dripping with disdain. "Did you think you could rescue her? Did you think you were the hero?" The realization clawed at him. "What have you done?" His voice trembled, the horror wrapping around him like a shroud. "Oh, just a little swap," she said casually. "I'll get what I want, and you?" She pointed at him with such certainty. "Will be my pawn." Everything turned inside out. Trust fractured, reality shifted, and the darkness opened its jaws beneath him. In that moment he faced a decision. Would he leap into the unknown, or be consumed by his own desperation to save a woman he realized he barely knew? As Nathan felt the ground pull away from his feet, he could only wonder what choice would determine his fate, and how many secrets had he yet to uncover. Nathan felt the world collapsing. Shock wrapped around him like a heavy blanket as he stared wide-eyed at Melanie, now standing in the shadows, her expression sickly triumphant. "Did you think I would let you take her away?" she taunted, stepping closer, eyes glimmering with something dark and soul. Icy hand gripped Nathan's heart. "You're insane. Where's Sarah?" But before she could answer, the air thrummed with a low growing sound, a soft hum that made the ground vibrate beneath him. His panic surged when suddenly the sky darkened, a shadow sweeping over the scene. He shielded his eyes just in time to see a massive aircraft soaring above. It was sleek and ominous against the smoke-filled sky. The crowd around them began to shriek in terror, eyes pointing skyward. "What is that?" someone screamed, the question slicing through Nathan's fog of dread. All at once the aircraft descended, low and faster than seemed possible. The hum turned to a deafening roar. Nathan felt the urge to run, his body screaming to escape, but he was frozen, unable to take his eyes off the looming danger. Then it happened. A blinding light erupted from below, so intense it threatened to swallow everything around him. The force pushed him back, nearly knocking him to the ground. He staggered, gasping for breath, the shock of the moment cascading over him like icy water. From the light emerged figures, tall, clad in metallic suits, faces hidden behind reflective visors. They floated down, landing gracefully around Melanie. It felt surreal, like something out of a sci-fi movie, yet the urgency was all too real. "Protect the target," one of them commanded, the voice distorted but clear. "What?" Nathan's words caught in his throat. He stared at Melanie, stunned. "Target? You're the target?" Melanie's expression shifted, fear flickering just beneath her bravado. "No, this can't be happening." In that moment, Nathan felt the weight of everything he thought he knew tumble away. The world spiraled, and his heart raced, mixing anger with betrayal. All those secrets, all the lies had led him here. But before he could process it, he turned to see Sarah rushing back, her face pale and frantic. "Nathan, get down," she screamed, and instinctively, he dropped. The sound burst forth, a crack, like thunder, and a shockwave swept through the alley. Debris flew, making him shield his head. Nathan felt the ground shake, his heart pounding, but there was Sarah, yanking him back up. "What's happening?" he gasped, catching his breath. "I never meant for you to find out." "This way," she said, her voice strained but urgent. "I was trying to keep you safe." "Safe from what? Your sister? From what's happening here?" His words tumbled out, mixed with fury and confusion. Then, out of nowhere, Melanie raised her hand, and with a cry, a flash erupted from her palm. "Stop!" The moment the burst of light hit, everything shifted. The metallic figures paused, their movements fluid yet erratic. Nathan's heart sank, and for a second, he lost his breath as the impossible unfolded before him. The figures fell back in unison, their suits flickering out of existence like fading dreams. When the light dimmed, Nathan squinted to see the scene unfold. In that instant, reality bent. One of the figures, flickering and transitioning from metal to flesh, emerged, revealing not an alien, but a man he knew all too well. "James," he gasped, disbelief drowning him. James was his childhood friend, the one who disappeared years ago during a major investigation. "What the hell happened to you?" But as the shockwaves traveled through the air, Melanie turned to him, and her voice dropped to a whisper filled with venom. "You don't understand anything, do you? This isn't just about Sarah. This is about us, a family beyond your wildest dreams." Nathan's stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" Just then, a snarl cut through the noise as one of the remaining figures lunged forward, grabbing Melanie's arm. "We can't let this happen. They can't find the pendant." The information battered Nathan like a storm. He felt hearts beating, lives intertwined, secrets swirling like smoke. The truth hung in the air like a blade, sharp and ready to slice through everything. "Melanie, what?" Before he could finish, another blinding light engulfed them, cutting through Nathan's voice. It was too much, too overwhelming. The path ahead blurred, and all he could see were those eyes, filled with desperation and anger, the eyes of a woman he once trusted. As everything faded to black, one final realization struck. The very roots of his reality were now unraveled. What lay ahead was uncertain. Nothing was ever what it seemed. And in this chaos, the only question that remained, what was the pendant truly capable of? The darkness pulled around Nathan like a suffocating blanket. His heart raced as he tried to process the chaos, the shifting faces, and the flickering lights. There was so much noise, the crackling of flames, the distant wail of sirens, voices shouting in panic. Everything felt surreal, lost in chaos and confusion. "Sarah!" he shouted blindly into the chaos, feeling the weight of fear settle over him. But there was no response. And then it hit him. Those last words from Melanie, Was Sarah truly safe? Had he been fighting for someone he barely knew? Each question burrowed deeper into his mind as he turned to face the figures still hovering around the chaos. The metallic suits began to shift once more, their expressions unreadable behind the glass visors. Suddenly, a tremor rippled through the ground, causing Nathan to stumble. He caught a glimpse of movement among the smoke. Out of the shadows, a figure emerged. Tall, covered in darkness. Was it another attacker? But as the shape stepped into the flickering light, Nathan felt his heart drop again. It was her. "Sarah," he gasped, relief flooding through him. But the look on her face made his stomach plummet. She was breathless, eyes wide and shimmering like they were glazed with tears. But it was not fear he saw. It was something colder, sharper. I need to show you something," she said, her voice heavy, a mixture of desperation and urgency. Before Nathan could question her, she reached into her pocket, her hand trembling. The world felt like it was closing in, confusion swirling around them like the thin smoke in the air. "They're coming." In that moment, she revealed a small artifact, an unassuming old key. But as it glimmered in the dim light, Nathan felt an electric jolt, like it had a pulse all its own. It was the pendant, the key to all his questions. "Where did you get that?" His voice shook as dread seeped into him, but before she could answer, a loud crash echoed nearby, and the metallic figures turned in unison, their attention drawn away. Nathan locked eyes with Sarah, confusion twisting inside him. Would they strike? Or were they merely observers? "Follow me," she demanded, and just like that, she turned on her heel and dashed into the alley, urgency pulling him forward. They sprinted together, dodging debris and panic. Nathan's heart thundered in his chest, fear gripping him. "What are we running from?" he yelled, scanning the area. But she wasn't listening. There was an intensity in her eyes that worried him as they found a hidden corner, breathing hard among the shadows. "Sarah, tell me what's going on," he nearly begged, catching his breath. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. Just out of reach, from somewhere across the street, another gunshot rang out, echoing like a ghost. The panic intensified, and a wave of fear crashed over Nathan once more. But then she took a step back, shock in her eyes. "I wasn't meant to let you find out." And suddenly, everything shifted again. A voice appeared from nowhere. It was a man, one Nathan recognized. "Stop right there." The shadows melted, revealing James, his old friend, standing tall, fists clenched, eyes darting between them. His breath hung heavy, chest heaving with the scene's urgency. "You shouldn't have come back for her," he said, disbelief mingling with warning. "James," Nathan whispered, shaking his head as everything tangled together, like a tight knot. "What do you mean?" But before he could understand, James lunged forward, knocking Nathan back into the alley. "Get away from her." More chaos erupted. The light between them flickered, and in that moment, Nathan saw it all. A brilliant flash erupted from the pendant, pulling everything dark and bright into a duality that felt alive. As the light exploded outward, Nathan saw it. The truth. The pendant was more than a piece of jewelry. It was a door. A shockwave hit him, drawing him closer, revealing something that twisted his gut. The truth leaned into him sharply like a blade to the throat. "No!" "Not yet," Sarah cried out, panic dancing in her voice, her hands reaching for him. "You don't understand." But the light enveloped them. He felt an overwhelming rush of memories, flashes of lives intertwined, shadows of betrayal, lovers torn apart. In that instant, everything morphed and twisted, and Nathan gasped in horror. "Wait, what are you hiding?" he shouted, but her face was masked in anguish. And then, just like that, everything fell silent. When the brilliance faded, Nathan stood alone in the shadows. "No," he yelled, overwhelmed panic clawing at his chest. "Sarah?" But the memory of her, of Melanie, twisted in his mind like a horror he couldn't catch. Something had changed, something that pulsed with threat and uncertainty. His heart raced as he felt the truth lurking just beneath the surface. Had he ever known her? Had he ever known anyone? And just as the last remnants of doubt nibbled away at his sanity, a voice echoed from behind, unwavering and calm, cutting through the fog of confusion. "Welcome to the real game, Nathan." He turned slowly, dread chilling him to the bone. Who had whispered those words? What new truth awaited him? And was he truly ready to face it? Nathan blinked, grasping at the remnants of reality as the chaos swirled around him. The shadows seemed to pulsate, each flickering light telling a story he had yet to comprehend. He felt the heat in his chest rise, heart pounding frantically, every instinct screaming at him to find Sarah, to make sense of everything that twisted and turned inside his mind. "Where are you?" he shouted into the suffocating air, desperation clawing at his throat. He felt utterly lost, adrift in a storm of uncertainty. Behind him, Melanie's laughter echoed, chilling him to the bone. "You were never prepared for the truth, Nathan," she taunted, stepping back into the shadows like a ghost. "Your life, your reality, it's all a game." To them, but as the words sunk in, swirling through his mind like smoke, Nathan felt a sudden clarity ignite within him. He couldn't let fear rule him, not anymore, not when Sarah's life was at stake. Steeling himself, he pushed through the emotional fog, moving forward, guided by the echoes of his heart. "Sarah, I'm coming for you," he yelled, forcing his feet into motion. Adrenaline pumped through him, giving him purpose even amidst the devastation. He weaved through the chaotic alley where shadows danced, desperate for answers. And then, out of the corner of his eye, he caught a flicker, the pendant glowing faintly, pulling at his senses like a magnet. It radiated something deep and powerful, more than he had ever understood. It was connected to both Sarah and the truth he desperately sought. Following the pull, he found himself drawn to the remnants of the earlier explosion, where everything had converged. Rounding a corner, Nathan's breath caught. There she was, Sarah, fighting off a group of figures cloaked in darkness, her movements sharp and fierce, unlike what he'd seen before. She turned quickly, eyes widening when she spotted him. "Get out," she cried, waving him back, her voice sharp with urgency. "No, I won't leave you," he adamantly retorted, holding his ground, each word a vow. He wouldn't abandon her. He wouldn't let fear tear them apart again. In that fleeting moment, everything muted. The chaos, the screams, the flames. It was just him and Sarah. He could see the truth in her eyes. Pain, fear, but also a spark of determination. "I have to finish this," she declared, and with careful movements, she revealed the pendant, its glow pulsing like a heartbeat. "It's the key, our key." The world fell away as Nathan took a step closer. The key to what? To who we are. "Trust me." She extended it toward him, and in her eyes, he saw something profound, an invitation to understand. Before he could grasp it all, the figures lunged again, swift and unfaltering. Nathan felt the weight of panic return, but surged forward, instinct guiding him. "Get behind me," he yelled, adrenaline kicking in. They were a blur of motion, pushing, striking, dodging. With one powerful swing, Nathan kicked out, knocking one of the assailants back, but there was no room for victory. They kept coming. Sarah fought beside him, each move synchronized, raw determination emanating from their every action. And then, a burst of light erupted from the pendant, flooding the space with warmth and clarity. The darkness peeled back, revealing a brighter path, a glimpse of hope amidst the chaos. James appeared, his presence striking and commanding. "This is it," he shouted over the noise. "Use it." Nathan reached for Sarah's hand, connecting with the pendant, feeling its energy surge through him. Together, they activated it, and an illuminating beam shot out, engulfing everything in its embrace. The shadows recoiled as the figures began to dissolve. Screams, mixing with the sound of fading desperation. Nathan held tight to Sarah, feeling the bond between them solidify, a thread woven through time, love, and hard-earned truth. In a heartbeat, the chaos quieted, the world stilled. Nathan's chest heaved, but a soft calm settled upon him. "Is it over?" he whispered, glancing around at the remnants of their fight. "For now, yes," Sarah replied, her voice shaky but resolute. "But we'll need to face what's next, together." Nathan pulled her close, his heart swelling with relief and something deeper, a connection forged through fire and pain. "No more secrets. Promise?" "Promise," she said, her eyes shining like beacons. And in that moment, the weight of their worlds crashed down, but the burden felt lighter together. They turned slowly, the horizon ahead uncertain, but filled with possibilities. With one final glance back at the chaos they were leaving behind, Nathan took Sarah's hand firmly in his. "Let's go," he said, stepping forward into a new beginning, powered by the love and truth that led them through the dark. Now you have to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button right now because it really helps the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your support makes all the difference, and only real fans understand how important this is.